Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo. I am delighted to be joined here by a really, truly fantastic filmmaker in Pier-Philippe. Pier-Philippe, nice to see you here.
Hi, what's up?
Who is live from Montreal in this virtual experience. His film with us at our virtual film festival of Rebel was so good. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at the clip. Pier-Philippe, I'm so glad that from LA to Montreal, we are connected here together. And thank you for bringing your film to us. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Basically, it's a film about the rise of right-wing extremism as seen through the eyes of a 7-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid. He just follows his father that goes on a mysterious patrol in the woods, and then stuff happens, of course.
I was truly captivated. Certainly your young actor was put in such a brilliant performance in carrying us through this experience that he goes through in this story. Where did the inspiration come for you in deciding to actually create this into a film?
Well, so all of my projects are based on social issues, and I've done numerous short films on social issues, and this one was really about the rise of right-wing extremism because in Quebec, which is the French part of Canada, historically we've always been a very left-wing, left-leaning province. Like for the past 60 years, we've only elected either center or left-wing governments. And now, for the first time, there's an actual right-wing government in place. And simultaneously, there's been like an increase in these sort of weird right-wing militia groups that kind of echo the alt-right movement in the States. So it's like militia groups that get together and they do demonstrations, they do patrols. Groups like La Meute, Soldiers of Odin, Storm Alliance, and they've gotten a lot of mainstream media coverage in the past few years, and that was very scary to me. That was such a weird phenomenon, especially for here, because we've always been so progressive. And so I've decided to do research on it, and whenever I write a script, I'll do research on a subject, and when I feel like I have enough material, then there's going to be a spark out there, and I'm going to like find the idea as to what exactly the story is going to be. And in this case, on the day after the very first big demonstration that La Meute did in Quebec City, one of the newspapers, they had the front page was the picture of a boy, 7 or 8-year-old boy that was holding a flag with the logo of La Meute on it. And I thought to myself, that kid doesn't know really what it's all about. He doesn't know the politics behind. He's just following his parents. And I thought that would be like a good idea to tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, powerful stuff. And I'm so glad that, you know, in your career, you continue to, you know, to actually make films about social issues and injustices that are going on in your community and beyond. As you said, you took this through the eyes of a 7-year-old boy, which, you know, really hit home in so many ways because, you know, there's so much of that age that we just love what we love and love is in front of us. And there's such a different scope and outlook of life at that age. And I love the way that his curiosity and understanding of just what these adults were doing and how they perceive things differently was unfolding. Before we get into that sort of perspective, how did you bring your cast together and your central figure, who I felt was brilliant, and he was such a great actor to watch, and him understanding what was going on around him was brilliant.
Yeah. You know, working with child actors is always difficult, especially finding them, because when you do a lot of auditions, you can tell right away whether or not they really want to be there or if it's their parents that are pushing them to be there. And we've seen about 40 boys, and Edouard, we knew right away he wanted to be there. He was really enthusiastic. He walked into the room, he said, he greeted everyone. He was like super happy to be there, and he wanted to do it. And that's how we knew, like, okay, I want to shoot in long takes. It's going to be difficult for a child to shoot in long takes because, you know, I need to make a lot of takes, and after 3 or 5 takes, he's going to get bored. He's going to want to do something else. But that kid, he was really into it. He wanted to be there. He wanted to work. So I thought, yeah, maybe he's the right one for the part. And then he was like, I think he understood not so much the politics behind it, but at the core, it's a story about empathy. And you could tell when speaking, like, his mother was always there, and you could tell when talking to her that he really understood, like, the human element of it. So I think, yeah, he was the perfect cast for this.
I think one of the things that I love that just, you know, I think a lot of people that are particularly, you know, that we're progressive in moving our, you know, society and culture forward is that there's so much as a child that you see, and somehow it's lost with some people as adults. And, you know, I really think that by carrying it from his perspective, you really kind of showed just kind of how grossly informed and how fear hits in a lot of adults over not really understanding a situation fully or losing their essence of humanity and heart. Was that kind of something you wanted to kind of orchestrate with the audience as well? Is that there's just a lot of heart that got lost in this, that these are human beings just trying to flee for a better life. You know, they're quite clearly, that's all they're trying to do. Was that something you kind of wanted to resonate with the audience?
Yeah, of course. And from my research, that's really what stood out from because I never actually met these people. I've tried to meet with them, but they wouldn't, because I didn't want to pretend like I was on their side or anything. So I was really open with them, and I told them I'm making a film on, you know, the movement and everything, and I'm curious, but they didn't want to talk to me. So my research was basically on Facebook. I became friends with a lot of them, and that's exactly what you said. I felt like they approach all of those issues with no empathy at all. It was all about their perspective, and they weren't able to put themselves in the shoes of others, which is technically what you can do with film. You know, that's what a camera does. It allows you to, you know, see the perspective from somebody else. You know, a film is always shot at the third person. So I thought, yeah, for sure that's the basic idea, was to try to get a character that through these these kids' eyes, that doesn't have any preconceptions.
Yes.
That, like, he has no idea. He's like, his eyes are virgin, and he doesn't have any clue what the politics are. So that was like, yeah.
And I think as well, like, sometimes we don't really know even what certain people are feeling. Like, even the way that the father was unfolded, you know, you hope, you know, he just seemed like a loving person that loved his son and everything else, and then it delves into a part of his character. You're like, oh, I didn't see this coming. I didn't know this about you. And I think there's a lot of unraveling in our politics in the world right now, where we're discovering things about maybe people we even know, or people are thinking a certain way, and it's kind of scary, actually, in all honesty. I want to go to a sort of technical perspective, because I was amazed. Like, you obviously went from their home to a car to out in the open. Like, I was like, your interiors in a car. I was like, how was that experience for you, and how long did that kind of shoot take? Because I know you had obviously different locations.
Yeah. The shoot was on 4 days, I think. Yeah, 3 days in the wood, 1 day in the house. And you know, it doesn't really show, because the film is not like super. It's kind of subtle, but every scene is a long take, basically, up until you get to the point where they capture the family. And so that was really the big, and pretty much it's a style that I've used in my other short films also. I usually like have this over-the-shoulder camera, these very long takes, so that the viewer really feels like he's in there with the characters, living the events in real time, you know. And so yeah, it's always difficult to do long takes, especially in this case. Like the opening shot has a kid and has a cat on cue, which is like the one thing your producer would tell you, like, don't do that. It's never going to work. You need to do this like a shot, reverse shot. You can't do this as a long take. But we worked with the kid a lot, and like I said, he was enthusiastic, and that's why we picked him, basically, because we knew we could work with him, even though we had to rehearse it a lot. And the cat wasn't always on cue, so we had to do as many takes as we needed to get the shot done.
I felt the cat had a very significant role. Actually, is my next question. It also looked like one of my cats, which was very, very strange for me to watch. But no, I had a very, just the way that he was with the cat, and then the part of the ending. I don't know if we want to give it away or not, but there's a very significant thing for me that I watched, which was just, goodness me, it just felt almost, it hurt me inside that we weren't, we were quite openly and willing to accept a cat into the home, and we couldn't accept a family in need, that needed a home, and I just felt, really felt uncomfortable to kind of signal how we just, we put people in boxes or associations, and we welcome a cat into our house, but we can't welcome a mom and a dad and a child. Like, crazy, right? Was that something you were trying to do there, or was I just taking it to another level?
Of course, there's, at the very basic level, there's this metaphor that the cat is like, and it's not even that subtle, But what was important to me with the whole cat thing was to have the kid do something, act, because as a 6 or 7-year-old kid, what can he do about what he just witnessed? There's nothing he can reasonably do. But he can try to make amends in a way, and that would make sense if you look at it from his perspective as a very naive young child. That's his way of making amends for sort of leading the family into getting caught. And it's also a way for him to rebel against his father, hence the title. Because at the beginning, the father says, no, we can't let the cat in. So that's his way of saying, no, I disagree with you.
Yeah.
And then
make your own choice. Yeah.
And then again, I don't think it's that much on the nose, but it's there if you want to look at it that way.
Well, I mean, I know that obviously this is part of your heart and what you do in making films that bring attention to things that need to be drawn to. But what did you, I mean, I know there's a lot of things in the reasons why you made this film, but if you could pinpoint what you wanted your audience to take from this film, what would it be?
Empathy, I guess. That's really the driving emotion behind the film. And really, that kid is me. That kid is me, like witnessing other kids getting bullied when I was a child. That's something I'm sensitive to that, and it felt like really natural for me to tell a story through the eyes of someone who's only a witness, and maybe regrets not acting at that point, And so really empathy is really what I hope the audience gets to experience in a way.
And what has been your reaction thus far with an audience? Because you can't help but watch your film and have questions to ask. What has been the reaction been thus far? And it's certainly been great having you at New Filmmakers too.
It's been great, honestly. In terms of festival, we've done a pretty big run. Of course, COVID has kind of stopped that. So I haven't had as much interaction with the audience as I would have liked because of that. I've maybe had like 5 or 6 screenings where I was able to attend. But every time it was like really, really fun, tons of questions, especially in Canada, especially actually in English Canada, because they're very concerned about the rise of right-wing extremism in Quebec. So there's that on their end, lots of questions about the state of things here.
Yeah. What is next for you? What's coming next?
Right now, I'm actually working on a feature, and if it weren't for COVID, I would probably be in pre-production right now because we've got the funding, but it's pushed back to next year, which allows us to turn it into a co-production and hopefully get some more money to get it done. So that's what we're working on right now. But the script is complete, and we got the cast and everything. So we're going to be shooting next summer, and in the meantime, I've started working on the script to a second feature, which is what I'm trying to do now that we're stopped with COVID.
Fantastic. Well, I want to just finalize, and you know, there are filmmakers out there that, like yourself, that want to focus in on social issues that maybe are important to them. As one example, what advice do you have to any filmmakers out there that really want to take a story that means a lot to them and put it out there? Is there anything that you kind of go by, you know, that maybe you've learned in your career thus far that you could share with anybody out there?
If I speak very humbly, personally, I usually just work on the ideas that I keep like waking up in the middle of the night thinking about. That's really what drives me. And you know, it's very easy, especially with all the funding, getting the money together to shoot a film. It's easy to get discouraged and, you know, to want to abandon sometimes when you're working on a film. But if it's a story that really keeps you up at night, then that's, you know, that's what you need to get the thing done. You know?
I'm glad, and I also glad that you brought attention to this film. I mean, it's a statistic that is real, that 100,000 people flee, you know, to Canada every single year, as you stated in your film, and I'm so glad that you brought attention to this, and you know, I really enjoy your work, and hopefully you've created some empathy and education with a lot of people out there. So thank you very much, Pier-Philippe, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.